I've known you for quite a few years now, but there are actually quite so many things that I don't know about you because like we've mostly been talking about business, life, personal development, but you have this complete other side to you, this you maybe you could say alter ego, as a performer as well, of an artist, a music creator, a rapper. Um and we haven't really gone that deep into it, and I want to, of course, throughout the this conversation, talk more about freestyle rap and how freestyle rap has enabled you to access flow states, and express yourself better. But how did you get into creating rap music? Like, what was the beginning point for you with that?
Mm. So, um, thank you for the question. I fell in love with rap music when I was about 12 years old or so. I first heard Eminem, I think, and it just like something immediately clicked. And in the early years, listened to a lot of like Eminem, 50 Cent, Lil Wayne, a lot of like more mainstream rap. And then um and I just from very early on I started memorizing rap songs. I've always had this like powerful linguistic memory. I just have like a database of lyrics and quotes stored in my mind. So I would from very early on start memorizing lyrics and just rapping along to the songs. And I had a sense um from the early days that it was something I was good at. I could feel and see that I was able to really synchronize with different rappers, like synchronize with their spirit, synchronize with their cadence, their flow, their delivery, and like match my voice to what they were doing very closely. And I could deliver like a uh, a rendition of their song that felt like it was pretty on point. So I started to have a sense that I was good at rapping and that I just loved it. And um, the earliest time that I started creating rap music, writing it and creating it was back in high school, about age, let's see, about age 17. My friend Shane and I started recording like some dance videos to rap music, and we
Mhm.
were just kind of dancing to different rap songs. But then we decided to make a parody of Cruising in My 6'4" by Eazy-E. So we made this song Cruising in My '04 because I had an '04 Impala and Eazy-E had a '64 Impala, like when he made that song. So we made a song all about like life in small town Spencer, Iowa, called Cruising in My '04 when I was like 18 years old. And yeah, that video's still on YouTube and it has almost 30,000 views. Actually, it's kind of like a cult classic around around the 712 in Northwest Iowa. And that was just a lot of fun. And then I went to college soon after that, and I had kind of like a rap awakening. I discovered like Del the Funky Homo Sapien, and that led me down this rabbit hole of all this avant-garde experimental rap. And I'm listening to Del and Aesop Rock and all this 90s rap, De La Soul, Tribe Called Quest, Far Side. Um, I start cluing into some of the weirder, more modern rap too. I start picking up on the MF Doom, Cool Keith, MC Paul Barman, Milo, Cool AD. Um, and all this starts to like alchemize in me, and my idea of what rap can be just starts to radically expand. And I'm just like, oh shit, rap can really be anything. And I start writing rap lyrics. I started I started freestyling probably like 18 or 19 as well, and started writing some lyrics, more lyrics around that time. Notion of rap started to expand dramatically. Now I'm going into my whole kind of story here. Is it okay to
Yeah,
just
no, I actually want to get into all of this, but before we do that, I have some
uh-huh,
questions from the past. So,
uh-huh,
um, you said you were properly introduced to rap around age 12, and
yeah.
you had a good linguistic capability to remember lyrics. Um, so yeah, I'm trying to picture you as a child. Like, did you like poetry? Like, did you like writing? Like, what was your relationship to language as a kid growing up? Did you like to read? Like, what was that like?
Yeah, good question. So, uh, my parents and relatives often bring up that I was just like reciting the alphabet at a preposterously young age, and that I had started to memorize children's books at a super young age. Like, my parents started reading to me from a young age, and I would just take the book from them and read it, but actually I had just memorized the book and I was just like reciting the words. Um, so I had an affinity for words from a really young age, and I was I don't remember when I was really introduced to poetry, sometime in grade school. And there was some kind of poetry contest in like fifth or sixth grade where I wrote a poem called, we had to write a poem. I think the title had to be The Stars That Guide Me or something like this. Then we could write any poem. And I wrote a poem about my parents. I still remember like I think the last line is like, the stars that guide me when I'm sad are more than stars or simple things. They are my mom and dad, or something like this.
Wow.
And my poem, I think I got like second in the contest or whatever. And I I liked writing. I liked writing poetry and creating from a young age. I was drawing tons of like superheroes and Dragon Ball Z characters. My favorite. I was drawing tons of Dragon Ball Z characters, and I started spontaneously writing more poetry, mostly on like special occasions, like or somber occasions, like when my grandparents passed away. For each of their funerals, I wrote a poem and like read it at their funerals. And um, I was a voracious reader from a young age too. As soon as I learned to read, yeah, I read tons of novels. You know, read the Harry Potter series like 8 times or whatever, or a lot of the
No
books.
way.
Like, yeah, I read a lot of those books like 7 or 8 times. I think the later ones only a few times, but loved Harry Potter. And there were reading contests at school, and I was always like, you know, first or second, and just reading, just plowing through books, reading, like could sometimes read 10, 12 hours straight. So yeah, just really loved words from a young age. And was spontaneously producing some poetry, but it wasn't like a huge thing for me to be writing that much. Was told I was good at writing from a young age, but it wasn't really until college that I started really seriously writing a lot, and like starting to love writing, just for my own intrinsic joy. So yeah.
When you say you read like the Harry Potter books sometimes like 8 times, can you remember what it was that made you keep going back? Was it the story? Was it like you liked the phrasing? Was it because you could imagine it and it took you to a different world? Like what was the reason you chose that instead of binge watching TV or whatever else kids do?
Yeah, it's a great question. I don't think I really understood what was happening at that age. I was spellbound. It was hypnotizing. There was something about the way those books were written. I went back recently, read a couple of them over the winter actually, and that was really beautiful to just read Harry Potter in like while taking hot baths. And what I could feel reading it was just, it feels like J.K. Rowling just straight up channeled those books from the pure archetypal realm. It's just pure archetypal resonance. It's like the most charming yet enticing hero's journey, um, written in the modern era, like in a super approachable way. So it did. I mean, I had a really vivid imagination. It would transport me just to another place, and I would become totally immersed in the story and could just like live within that alternate place. And I just felt so much resonance with the characters. It's like they were real for me. Um, so I just loved dwelling in that
Hmm.
fantasy world.
And when you first started writing poetry, like your first experiments in poetry, were you just guided on pure intuition? Like you would write and then just like feel how it felt to you listening to it? Or were you kind of like extracting from your database of other writers when you wrote? Like what was the process right at the beginning?
Um, in the very early times, um, like I said, I didn't write poetry that often. It was kind of a spontaneous exercise here and there during childhood, and it was just largely intuitive. I think I did have a notion that poetry had to rhyme, um, So I was writing like rhyming poetry. But apart from that, yeah, it was just an intuitive process.
When it comes to rap music, one of the things that I see is that a lot of people love rap. Like a lot of people love rap. It's like I love rap, and I too was a huge Eminem fan, still am. But I remember his albums when they first came on the scene were like gold. It was like the coolest thing ever to own an Eminem album. um, but I don't know many people who have the confidence, even though they love rap, to actually rap and to write rap and to kind of perform. So that's like another thing that's kind of separate from skill as well. Is like the confidence to actually believe in yourself, to write and to perform. Did you ever doubt yourself as a rapper?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Um, I I think when I really I think when I was in high school making like the parody rap video, that just seemed like playful and spontaneous thing with friends, and I wasn't really doubting that because it didn't feel like a serious attempt to like do something as a rapper so much as just like a fun project with friends. But then in college I started writing more and started freestyling more, started realizing that I, was good at rapping and feeling a call to go farther with it. Around that time though, I was also heavily indoctrinated into a lot of ideas of kind of social justice ideology. Like had a lot of great professors and great teachings come from my time in university, but also um, a lot of American university culture is pretty heavily polluted with this, like, with some of the shadowy regressive leftist ideology, and a lot of this was kind of drilled into me, and I was subtly in a lot of ways kind of made to feel guilty for being a white person and for being a privileged person and for being a man and all these different things. Like, and one of the things that this brought me into more of an awareness that um, that rap had originated within African American culture, and um, and I think it's totally great to understand the origins of rap and honor that. But that kind of got me wondering, like, you know, oh, I'm like a white guy from the Midwest. Maybe I just shouldn't be rapping. Maybe it's disrespectful to the
Mm-hmm.
culture or something like that. And I also, yeah, just had certain limiting stories in my mind about, like, oh yeah, you're not this typical person who raps. What are people gonna think if you start like putting out rap music, stuff like this? um so I really had to, but I had this like strong feeling in my soul that I loved rap and I was meant to rap. So there was kind of this internal war going on. And um nowadays, yeah, I don't have any of this notion of like someone shouldn't rap because of a particular skin color. I think that's preposterous. I think it's
Mm-hmm.
quite clear that some people's souls came to this earth to rap, and if you have the gift of rap and you feel like rapping, then fucking rap. It's another art form. Why would we want to, like, create these silos of artistic mediums and try to restrict certain artistic mediums to only one culture or only one group of people? Doesn't make any sense. Like, I'm totally in favor of like open source everything, open source human culture, open source global society. Let's all learn from each other's ideas and mediums and implement them and remix them to, generate more beauty in the world. um, what it really took was me moving to South Korea. When I went to South Korea to teach English for a year right after college, that was a super crucial kind of quantum leap in my lifetime, a milestone, a kind of crossing of a threshold. And going to Asia and just knowing no one and knowing I was going to be there for like a year and just being ripped away from everything and everyone I'd ever known really opened up this space. Like, when you do that, you really open up a space for fundamental changes to occur, because all the snake skins that were constructed from other people's expectations and ideas about who you should be and pressures to be someone start to fall away because those people and environments are no longer present. And so you rapidly start to get down to more fundamental questions, to really looking at, okay, who am I really? Who am I in the absence of what everyone else is telling me to be and what everyone else expects me to be? Who the fuck am I? What do I really love to do? And one of the very clear answers was, I fucking love rap music. It's like my favorite
Hmm.
thing in the world. And I've written like mountains of rap lyrics, and I haven't recorded any of them. Fuck this. It's time to start recording rap music. And so I just ordered a mic to my apartment in South Korea, and started in GarageBand, even with my built-in mic, and then got Logic, and I just started making rap songs in this little apartment in South Korea. And though I still have a super deep nostalgia for those early days, because they were so, it was like this energy that had been bottled up waiting to be unleashed, just like poured out. And it was probably like definitely one of the most playful, fun, inspiring eras of my rap career. Just alone making these playful, silly songs in South Korea. That was, yeah, that was really beautiful.
That transition there from someone who's written a lot of rap, someone who loves rap, to actually, I'm going to order a mic and create something. That's like a huge step that I think so many people never make. Like
Hmm.
artists of all kinds, because it's really daunting. Like, yeah, okay, you might have a natural talent for lyrics, but you've never recorded music before. Like that's like a whole other thing. So what was the process you went through in actually putting something down as a recording? Like, where did you start? Like, how did you come up with a beat? How did you find music? How did that look?
Yeah, great question. So interestingly, my friend Corey, childhood friend, born in my hometown 9 days apart from me in the same hospital, like we've had kind of parallel music journeys, and now we're on the verge of releasing this album called Ayahuasca that's coming out soon, but spelled Iowasca, because we're both from Iowa. It's like a sacred silliness, but also deep mystical insight type of album. We're going to release that soon. Interestingly, Corey had started producing beats around the same time that I was just starting to rap and wanting to record raps.
Mhm.
So Corey sent me some of his early beats, and those were some of the first beats that I rapped over and made songs over. And I later released a project called Korea Files 2013 that was like the earliest songs that I made with Corey, and that's on my Bandcamp. But yeah, I mean, so I just took some of Corey's beats and like opened GarageBand and started like Googling a few things to figure out how to do it. But it turned out that the basics of recording rap music were actually quite simple. You just like took the file, drug it into GarageBand, like it sits there, and then you create another track for like voice, and you just click the button to start recording. You put in your earbuds and you're listening to the beat, and you just start rapping your lyrics over it. And then the process of then mixing and mastering it is like, after you get a recording down, is a whole other thing. That's like an endless kind of process of getting better at that art, which I'm still far from a master at, I would say, because that's a whole other thing. But it was enough just to have the basic tools to be getting the recordings down, and to just hear how they sounded. And it's like, as soon as I played back one of my first songs and heard myself over the beat and heard this recording, I I was just hooked. I was like super delighted. I was just like, "Oh my god, I love this I love the way this sounds." And I think from day one, like most fundamentally, I think I've just been making the songs that I really wanted to hear.
Mhm.
Like, I mean, I don't know. There have been different influences, but a lot of it has just been straight up like, okay, what's the rap that I am missing in the world that I really want to listen to? I listen to a lot of my own music nowadays. It's like I may listen to my own music more than anyone else's, almost, because I'm most fundamentally just like making music to nourish my own soul. Because it's just like, that seems like it comes from the purest place. When I create purely from my soul, naturally I resonate super deeply with my own music. So
I got a sense when we spoke to Akira the Don that he does something similar as well. Like he creates and nourishes his own soul.
mm.
which is great. Um, so yeah, so I just think that's so cool that you actually took that step and started creating music. I just it's just making me realize that so many artists or artistic people are not making that step, not making their first YouTube video, not making their first album, not making their first song, not drawing their first drawing or putting their first painting online or whatever. And it's like, I don't know, maybe it's like a fear of perfection. Like they compare themselves to like, the best of the best in the world. But as you said, a beat and some good lyrics and a decent recording, and suddenly you've got music. You've got your own music, which is so much better than zero music.
Hmm.
Super
Yeah,
cool.
absolutely. And I would encourage people so strongly, just take the first step, whatever it is, like release the first song, order the mic, record the first podcast episode, buy the domain. Like starting a creative endeavor really is half the battle, I think, because a lot of people do get lost in analysis paralysis and think they need to think their way to the perfect plan before starting, which is the complete ass backwards way to go about it. Because the by far and away the most revealing thing in any creative endeavor is when you actually start taking massive action and start getting the feedback from the universe that comes from the action. That is what allows you to really iterate. That is what allows you to really hone in on find your voice, find your purpose, find what you're really here for. You can't think your way to that. You have to act. um, and so, and when you do act, what I started to find was remarkable. It's like I started to really see Joseph Campbell's principle: follow your bliss and the universe will open doors where there were only walls. I started to see this play out before me rapidly. After starting to record rap music, I suddenly met another rapper from Chicago in South Korea who was about to be doing a string of shows in Busan, South Korea at like
Oh,
Western foreigner bars. And I showed him some of the early songs I had made, and he was like, "Dude, I love these. You should do some shows with me." And suddenly I'm doing shows in South Korea. Suddenly I'm performing rap within a matter of months from deciding to actually start recording. I literally have a mic in my hand and I'm performing rap music in front of people live in South Korea. And like, what the fuck, not even my home continent. And and next thing I know, like, I dropped my first project, I start dropping more songs on SoundCloud, and one of my songs gets like 10,000 plays. Like there's heard to Ubermensch, this song like
mhm.
about Nietzsche and a bunch of other thinkers and philosophers and stuff. And suddenly, 10,000 people have heard my music, heard even that one song, and I'm off and running up into, I don't, up into the tens and then eventually hundreds of thousands of plays. And suddenly my music is a thing in the world, and it's reaching people, and it affects people, and people send me messages and tell me how much it means to them. And it just snowballs when you just start taking massive soul aligned action in the direction of what truly excites you. So,
I love that. Can you remember the first time you performed? Like, what was it like leading up to it? How did you feel, etc.?
oh my God. Yeah, I remember it. I was just gonna This was fucking crazy. I was just given the chance to perform one song the first time. This friend I had met, it was the biggest show I did in South Korea. Just that biggest performance, that one song, because somehow he had concocted this guy Charlie Waffles, true character. Like shout out to Charlie Waffles. I think he's still in Asia somewhere. Somehow he had concocted this gig with like, I don't even know, 100 to 150 people in there in this bar in South Korea. And I've never performed rap in front of anyone. Suddenly I'm in a venue that's just packed to the gills with like 100 people, and I'm about to clutch the mic and perform Digital Descartes for the first time, this song all about social media. And I'm just like, fucking, my heart's thumping. I was nervous as fuck. I was super scared. I was just saying to myself, like, just don't forget the first line. Just don't forget the first line. Like, if you just remember the first line, you probably can remember the rest of it. It was like, and the first line is like, these fools' Facebook profiles are like life advertisements. Don't you want my shit? It's also happy and vibrant. It was just this whole silly song about social media. And I was just like, don't forget it. Don't forget it. And then, yeah. So I got up to perform, and like, heart thumping, so nervous. The beat starts, and yeah, I remember the line, and I delivered the song, and there's some pictures of that performance somewhere, and maybe a video somewhere, but I just look. I'm like not even seeing the people. I'm so clearly like just in my own world, like kind of looking down, but I'm just like rapping like fucking intensely, and I'm just like going at it, and people enjoyed it. They appreciated it. It was like a lot of good feedback, and I swear,
Wow.
right after that performing that one song, I was about ready to pass out. I felt so tired and exhausted. I had such an adrenaline rush that I just crashed after that, and I was like, I just need to go home and sleep. Like I was, it
Wow.
was, yeah, it was so exhausting. So
It's incredible.
yeah.
Wow. Jeez. It's amazing how doing something you love and that you've kind of been preparing for in some sense can be that taxing, on your nervous system. It doesn't make sense in a way.
Yeah, and it's so crazy to think of like the thresholds we have to cross that life gives us. Like life has a way of basically saying like, "Oh, well, you think you truly love this? Do
Mhm.
you truly love it? Because I'm about to test you. You're going to be tested. Like you think you want to be a rapper, you want to perform in front of people? Well, here's 100 people, and now you get to feel how fucking scary this is. This is confronting as fuck. This is bringing up all your smallness, all your resistance, all your fear of failure. It's such a powerful mirror. And that was like, yeah, that was a threshold I had to cross. And it's crazy to think now, like, now when I perform, I have a bit of an excitation response and like get a bit charged up, but it's just like nothing, nowhere near what it was before. I feel very comfortable in front of people, very comfortable like performing rap or poetry and or speaking in front of people. And yeah, if you took me back to that venue now, I think I would just feel like I would feel excited and mostly just charged up, and I would like, be more present with the crowd and just able to really be in it and enjoy it while it's happening rather than just like, oh my God, it's happening, and just like go into kind of autopilot, like, am I doing this right mode, and just like spit it out. And yeah.
I just had the memory of you doing the cover in Amsterdam, the rap cover,
Yeah, because I got high by
because I got
Afro
high.
Man.
Yeah, got a recording of that somewhere. That was awesome. But like you had so much fun doing that everyone was like laughing and enjoying it and like filming it. Like you can't in some sense like skip ahead to that point. You have to go through the difficult gigs and stuff like that
Uh-huh.
first.
Uh-huh.
It's cool.
Yeah, karaoke is great practice for performing live too. I fucking love karaoke. I was just watching, random side note, I just watched a YouTube video the other day of like a performance of Mr. Brightside that I did in Romania
Hmm.
like about a year ago. It was in a really dark place right after a heartbreak. It was like a super alchemical time of massive transformation and shifts for me. A lot was brewing, a lot was kind of being like purged and released. I was just in this grieving place, and I needed an outlet, and found this karaoke karaoke bar in Romania, and just like this performance of Mr. Brightside is like the most intense. Like I threw my whole fucking being into that song, and I'm just like, oh
Wow.
my God, that is intense. But there's God, I fucking love the rush of doing that. There's something so cathartic about getting up in front of people and being seen on that level, and just not leaving anything and not holding back anything.
Mhm.
Just like, you know what? Yeah, here I fucking am. This is what I am. This is what I feel, and I'm gonna express it in the most raw and honest way as possible, because why the fuck not? Like, tomorrow's never promised. This could be my last breath. I'm gonna fucking sing the shit out of this right now. That's what that performance felt like, just in a little karaoke bar.
So one of the things that the qualities that you have that I think a lot of us kind of see and we appreciate and aspire to in ourselves as well is the ability to let go in yes on our own. I think many of us can do that anyway, but like to let go in public places and to let go while being seen. And that is like a really good example, to put yourself out there, to feel vulnerable, to open up and to put everything out there, all of your feelings. There's a lot of social pressure that's like, don't do that, you could be judged, like so and I think if you can, the more you can build that, the ability to kind of let go in public places, it really just opens up this other world for you, where you suddenly, that's real confidence. It's like, it's not like a thought-based confidence, it's like it's real. um I'm just curious how you got to that place of, just to give people watching some background, like you can freestyle publicly, which we're going to get into, dance. Like you are someone who can be the first person on the dance floor in a club, and it's not like you're doing it because you want a reaction. You're actually dancing. You're actually listening to the music. You're actually enjoying yourself. It's not like some weird move that you're doing to impress people. So there's like this real letting go thing that's occurring. So can you go into that a little bit more? Like, what's going on there? How did that come about?
Yeah. Um, that's a great question. I Years ago I wrote an article called The Adventuring Method and 7 Other Ways to Overcome Fear. And the essence of the adventuring method was basically just to consistently go on adventures, kind of beyond, this is a pretty, like, it's a reframe of a common heuristic in the self-development space, which is like, growth lies beyond your comfort zone. What you're really seeking, the cave you fear to enter holds the treasure you seek. So the idea was basically just regularly make a practice of finding ways to go into the cave that you fear entering. Just start doing things that you're afraid to do, that make you feel uncomfortable, and not just anything, do things that you actually really want to do and want to be able to do. So that, I wrote that article and was having those realizations like in college. So it really kind of began there, and began with um like traveling out of the country. Studying abroad in Spain was a really big leap in that regard for me, in college. And then like the huge leap to go to Asia for 16 months was huge. And then while in Asia, I started to make a practice of just like, I would just dance anywhere. I just started dancing like in subway cars, and like while waiting in lines for the subway. Started dancing in airports, started just dancing while walking down the street. Like anytime I was listening to music and I got the urge to dance, I just started doing it. And that was a super amazing practice for overcoming, like giving, like just relinquishing whatever lingering fucks I gave about what people thought about me, just embracing the moment and embracing life, and being alive and just feeling joy. That practice was incredible for shedding those. And yeah, I think there are different moments where you kind of have quantum leaps in that regard. Like the moment where I performed in South Korea, that was kind of like a threshold I crossed. And yeah, the first time that you open up a dance floor and they're in a crowded place and you're like, no one's dancing yet, and you're just like, you know what, fuck it, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna be the one to start dancing. You just, it's scary, like the first times, or the first time that you approach a girl you find really attractive. You're like, you know what, I find her beautiful. I'm gonna go ask her name, or I'm gonna go ask her if she believes in magic or something. Uh, Something random like that. It's like, it is a gradual process. There's no magic pill for suddenly shifting into this. Um, but yeah, you gradually make a practice of that, and it just like dissolves over time. Certain psychedelic experiences, I think, were powerful for me in that regard. There's one I remember, one MDMA experience in San Francisco where I was at this amazing show, and I just fucking, MDMA like taught me how to dance that night, and like took me to a new level of just absolutely not giving a fuck. I was just completely surrendering to whatever my body wanted to do. I remember laying like my shirt was like ripped open. I'm laying against the stage, like just like feeling the bass vibrate. I'm just like, ah. And someone came up and started like squeezing my nipples, and I didn't even open my eyes to see who it was. I was just like, oh yeah. I was so completely like immersed in the moment and just giving zero fucks. I started
Wow.
like offering hugs to everyone around me, and probably was a bit obnoxious and like like nowadays would probably be more grounded in that situation. But that was the night too where I suddenly just channeled this message. It was just like, you're fucking alive, man. You're fucking alive, man. You're fucking alive, man. I just started saying that to everyone around me. I was just like, you're fucking alive, man. And I just was having this crazy breakthrough of massive, like massive waves of joy coming into my life world. And experiences like that, when you realize how absolutely blissful it is to just let go and not give a fuck. And when you realize that, like, the more that you start to realize that all judgment is self-judgment, and that if someone has judgments coming up, that's really just about them. I mean, sure, sometimes people have judgments and feedback that are actually useful, but if someone is just like dancing in a public place and someone has a story and a judgment coming up about that, that's purely because you are acting as a mirror for them and showing them something that they wish that they could do. And so they don't want to look at that like kind of underdeveloped inner smallness, so they just generate a story to rationalize about how you're a loser or a weirdo or something like that. That's just completely about them. And you also start to realize that when you just shed the fucks that you give and you just embrace that moment and like display the full radiance of your peacock's feathers, for some people in that vicinity, you activate something in them and give them permission to start doing that more themselves. Maybe people will come and start dancing with you that wouldn't have otherwise done that, or it plants a seed in someone and they're like, they might not remember it consciously, but unconsciously, it's like, damn, there was that night where that fucking crazy guy just absolutely showed me what it looked like to be truly free and not give a fuck. And that just like clicked into place somewhere in my soul. And now I find myself doing what I truly love. You just can't overstate the ripple effect of truly embodying your soul and embodying radical freedom. And when you start to observe that ripple effect and start to see it activate people, it just further propels the kind of snowballing process. And you reach a point, yeah, you eventually reach the point where you're just like, yeah, I'm basically just going to do whatever I want whenever I feel it. um Expressing my soul is what I'm here to do, and it's the most powerful, healing, liberating thing I can do for myself and others. So
Yeah, this is super powerful. So often I've talked to you a little bit about this. So, we've done work with on high existence together over the years, and part of what we did was research very wise individuals, very intelligent individuals. And I do often see people who seem to be very wise and just seem to have like lots of amazing insights. But then I think like, could they really let go on a dance floor? Like, right? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it's
oh
an
yeah.
interesting. There's something that's a bit off there because, I mean, what are you doing when you're on the dance floor? You're having fun, you're letting go, you're in the moment. I mean, all of these things that we know are really good things, but
Hmm.
there's something that's holding people back. So I do actually see one of my own personal metrics for how self-actualized I am is one of them is how much can I let go in a situation like that? People who kind of like judge nightclubs or judge places where you can dance and have fun and party, and they're like, no, that's so below me. It's like, I mean, can you just go there and have fun? Like, if you can't, then like, what's going on? Then there might be something worth looking in there.
Yeah, I think it's a fantastic litmus test to determine how embodied someone's wisdom really is. To me, it's not wisdom until it's really embodied. If a person doesn't have that ability to let go, if they're so blocked by like fear and self-judgment, then they haven't really embodied wisdom. They haven't truly, on an embodied cellular level, remembered their fundamental wholeness and their fundamental lack of separation with all that is, and the fundamentally, like, that fundamentally there's nothing to fear and they're free and they can do whatever they want and they're here to express their soul. They're not really like in that. They're not. it hasn't sunken in on a bone level. It's just a conceptual map up here. It's a great way to tell whether someone has just developed a really sophisticated conceptual map that sounds nice or whether they're actually living it. And the difference between those two is night and day. I do think often the conceptual map precedes the living of it. Like often a lot of us are conditioned to be a lot in the headspace, and we start to discover people like Alan Watts and Terence McKenna and people like this, and they start to unlock something for us. But for a long time it's just conceptual, but then it can eventually start to sink in. Although some people do just get super lost in the conceptual and they spend their whole life there, and the conceptual just gets more and more bloated, and they think that true wisdom and intelligence is just having a more and more sophisticated conceptual map. That's probably one of the biggest traps on the path of true self-realization, self-actualization, I would say.
Hmm. Yeah, that's there's so much wisdom in there. Like it's really, I don't think we can tell people that enough. And I also noticed that I sometimes see videos of you and you like to dance and freestyle on your own as well. It's not just like a public thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I think maybe we can just like encourage people who are watching this or listening to this that you don't need to like force yourself to go and dance in a public place. Why don't you just try putting on some music and just dancing on your own and just getting into the feeling of it? And and maybe you actually don't like that, and that's fine. Not everyone is gonna love dancing, but I mean, if you do really enjoy that, letting go, but then you find that you can't do that then when you go to a public place, then that's exciting because you've got some cool work, some adventure to go on to improve that area of your life.
Mm-hmm. I think beginning by dancing and freestyling at home is a great place to start. If someone's not ready to kind of take the leap publicly, you can really start to chip away and build up that confidence and start to dissolve the fear just privately. So
Going back on the journey of your rap career, where did freestyling fit in? So we have you getting the mic, you start recording, a bunch of really awesome synchronicities happen, you do your first performance. Where does freestyling fit into this? Because again, this is one of those things where you could be very talented at writing music, you could be really talented at creating beats, but freestyling is this whole other skill in my opinion, because you have to let go.
mm-hmm.
You can't rewrite your freestyle. It's live.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, another great question. Um, Always love your questions. um, yeah, so freestyling, I think I began to experiment with it at like age 18 or 19, just a little bit, but it was still, I still had a lot of self-judgment at that time and like an awkward friend group, and we all kind of judged each other and like tore each other down systematically. And that was kind of our weird dysfunctional small town Iowa bro dynamic. So didn't go so deep into it until college. Actually, yeah, this is fun to go down memory lane and think about how deeply intertwined my early experiences with cannabis were with freestyle rapping, because my freshman year of college, I met a couple friends, Adam and Zach. Shout out to you guys. And we just realized that the three of us love to get in my car, my '04 white Impala, go drive to a parking lot off campus, smoke some weed, and just turn on some beats and fucking freestyle. And none of us were very good at it at first. None of us really knew what we were doing, but it just became like a ritual,
Mm-hmm.
and it was just really fun. And initially, yeah, initially I wasn't some kind of prodigy. Like I stumbled over freestyling, and I was still a lot in the head and trying to like premeditate the next line, rather than when you really get good at freestyling. Well, there are different types of freestylers. I think some great freestylers are premeditating the next line. For me, what I've found is what I truly love is to get into this kind of place of pure flow and pure channeling, where I don't even consciously know what the next line is about to be, that's about to come out, where it's almost like I've turned off the conscious linear mind, and I'm just purely in the right hemisphere, just like I just melt into the beat and I just let, like, it's almost like the music is just playing me, and that's
Mm,
what's coming out of my system when I just purely like melt into it and surrender. And I think there were glimpses of that in the early days, but yeah, the ability to do that kind of on command is something that developed more and more over the years. But from the early days, it was just super fun. It was like, oh my god, this is so fun to just see what the fuck we end up saying. Like, and it was liberating. It was like, just fucking say anything, see what the fuck comes out. You know, a lot of us are so repressed. We're so self-judgmental. We so have this fear of like saying the wrong thing. Freestyling is such a good way to start dropping that, start finding your voice, start becoming comfortable just fucking using your voice and expressing and seeing what comes out. And then the process over time, it's been amazing how it's like practicing freestyling has been important for becoming a better freestyler. But also weirdly, I've noticed that my capacity, from my perspective, my freestyle abilities have become more and more higher level, and my rap abilities in general have become more higher level in tandem with my spiritual development process. Like, the more that I just in general in life have come out of being purely in conceptual map land and come down into my body and into my heart, and like wisdom has sunken in on a deeper level, and I'm just like, and I just am the I just am myself now. I'm not just like lost in this conceptual map about what it means to be a wise or intelligent person. I just am embodying something, and the more that that has taken place, the more I've noticed my capacity to not only just purely surrender and like get into that flow state, but also to feel the music on a deeper level, so that my flow, my actual style of rap now like melts into the beat more seamlessly as well. That's like the style of rap, and the flow is huge. A lot of people are, I used to not be as attuned to this because I was more in my head and I was more focused on the lyrics. But the greatest rappers like feel the beat so deeply that their voice becomes another instrument that just like is melting seamlessly into the beat. And that capacity I've noticed has really increased for me the deeper like inner work I've done, especially like after working with ayahuasca. I noticed a lot unlock for me in that regard. But freestyling has just been a consistently beautiful practice for finding my voice, learning to express myself, cathartically releasing. It's just like, it's an amazing way at any moment to just enter a flow state and like have a cathartic release. A dance is the same way. I consider these both to be like sophisticated spiritual psychotechnologies for healing and liberation. It's like, boom, if I want to change my state, I know how. I know how to do so very rapidly in a lot of ways, but those are a couple of my favorite ways to do that. So
I think that unfortunately, like culture has given people this, like if you say like you should do freestyle rap to change your state and have a cathartic experience, it's like a lot of people might feel some judgment about that proposition. Um, Especially people who might be a bit older or might not listen to that kind of music. They might think, oh no, that's not for me. But I mean, that's a shame, because like if you break it down, what is it? It's just like expressing yourself in a musical way with your voice in a spontaneous fashion. It's like it's beautiful. And yeah, I never really thought about it much until I built a relationship with you, and now I'm seeing it as one of the best ways. Dancing is kind of known to be like really mood altering, and you know, there's research on how dancing can create peak experiences and stuff, but freestyle rap is not talked about so much like that. um and when you freestyle, what I like is your emphasis is really like no judgment. It doesn't matter if the thing you say doesn't even rhyme. It doesn't matter if it's not even to a beat. It doesn't matter if you mess up, if you say the same word 20 times. Like, it doesn't matter. There's like a no judgment space.
mm-hmm.
Um, so why did you've kind of touched on it. Why do you prefer this type of freestyle to the more premeditated type? Is it because it just feels better and it's more fun? Just like because you're in that zone of seeing what comes up?
Hmm. I really love to interchange it actually. I love like
Mhm.
when I'm in a cipher, there's this Freestyle Friday group I've recently become a part of, and we're doing it all digitally and it's super fun. Um, I noticed I like mixing it up between doing a written verse, like reciting a verse that I had written. It's fun to do that because you can dazzle people more with the lyrical wordplay, because when you write something it's just possible to add a whole nother layer of meaning and intricacy and multisyllabic rhymes and stuff like this. um, so they're kind of different tools for different times, and I love them both. I love them both so much. I don't know if I could say that I love one more than the other. um, but yeah, freestyle is just what I love about freestyle is just the purity. There's something so pure and spontaneous. It feels like you're really tapping into kind of the spirit of life and the universe, because when you go into deep states of meditation, what you start to notice is that reality is just in every moment like spontaneously, effortlessly arising.
Mhm.
um, and freestyle mirrors that really beautifully. It's like relinquishing control completely and allowing reality to spontaneously, organically, purely arise through you. And so it's like a channel for tapping directly into something closer to like the pure Tao, or like the pure spirit of life, you might say.
Damn, I'm loving these responses so far, and I feel like I'm learning stuff about you, which is awesome, right? Like I feel like I'm getting to know you better. This is amazing. I want to start going into more like a demonstration now. I want to start like maybe you can walk people through how they can freestyle, and
Mm,
just to remind people as well, this isn't that like this Jordan's able to do this right now without this big like preparation, and that's really the ideal. I think is like that you don't need to do this big preparation.
mm,
It can just be done anywhere, any place, anytime.
mm-hmm. Yeah, so what I would tell someone who is new to freestyling would be, for one, experiment with a cappella and experiment with beats. Like, just see what you like. When you're initially starting, give yourself permission to not even say real words, not even rhyme, not even make any sense. Give yourself permission to say anything, because the sooner you can get to that place of not trying to premeditate what you're going to say, or trying to make it adhere to your own like moralistic kind of uh, or ideological like value system, then the sooner you can like break out of the kind of uh, crusty, like calcified structure of your kind of mental conceptual maps, and enter that space of like pure flow
Mm-hmm.
and pure intuition. So start by just like saying anything or saying random syllables. um yeah, to start working on flow, a really good way is to play a beat and just not even say words. Just say random syllables. And if you're working on actually saying words, give yourself permission not to rhyme at first and not to make any sense. And then as you do that, as you start to become comfortable flowing like that, you can start to make more sense and start to rhyme more, and you can just kind of build from there. Um, so yeah, I have like a few beats pulled up. I could throw a beat on and maybe demonstrate a couple different things, I guess, if that is indicated.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Okay, cool. Um, yeah, so I got Corey Yeo's SoundCloud pulled up here. Shout out to Corey. Um, Mentioned him earlier, homie of mine, amazing music producer. But yeah, so just play a beat here. And yeah, I'll just demonstrate not even saying real words. So to practice flowing, you can just be like, doom ba, ba doom ba, boom boom ba, ba doom. Ba doopa dapa dapa doopa doopa dapa dapa deepa doopa deepa dapa shapa doopa dapa da beepa da papa poopa papa shapa dapa epa dapa dapa doopa doopa chapa dapa 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 papa ba 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 da 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 ba 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 da 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 shaba daba doopa daba deepa daba doopa daba doopa daba da 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 da. So this is a way to
I love that. It just feels so joyful.
yeah, it is. And it's a way to just get past the word aspect and just start flowing and start realizing that your voice is an instrument and using it that way. And then you can do something. So then, like I said, another practice is just starting to say words, but give yourself permission to make no sense. So I can demonstrate this by just like, yeah, Otter Cannonball on the Watcher Richard Branson on an island somewhere, Depancing and Landry. I don't know what I'm saying. Okay, whatever. Spraying oceanic ocean spray, cranberry free associative, dissociating on the dance floor in Halifax. Okay, had half an inkling to maybe grab some youngins and go run to Stolly's Pond and maybe go, yeah, fishing. I don't know. I'm just wishing for a different type of canary playpen. Okay, then whatever. It doesn't matter. Just say anything. So you can just
That
say
was
anything
amazing.
like that.
Yeah. It was so, it's so sort of engaging because like there is meaning and parts that are making sense within parts that aren't, and it's like the mind starts connecting. It's really cool.
Yeah, I love just free associating. And then, like, as you build up more, then you can get into trying to make more sense and to rhyme more. And again, when you with the say anything there, I was rhyming, but you could also just not rhyme. Like, um, yeah, I'll try to demonstrate a bit of not rhyming at the beginning here, and then I'll start rhyming and attempting to just kind of channel my truth into the lyrics here. Let's see how that goes. Yeah. Not rhyming. I'm not rhyming right now. I'm just talking. I'm just talking, saying what I want. I'm talking, saying what I want. It doesn't matter. I just let it flow out how I do it. Now the soul just wants to flow out how I do it, how I do it. Now the stupid sounds. Okay, it's time to start rhyming, vibing. I'm just channeling, rambling, just channeling my soul from the ether straight into the microphone. The nicest dome embodied in the soul cellular. Come through the truth. It rings to yours too. The poetic logic penetrates more deeply. You feel that in the cellular, the DNA. I be the one to whom they pray. Maybe. Yeah. So yeah, maybe not the greatest freestyles of all time, but I think those were decent to give an idea.
I thought that they were all epic because like you showed the progression as well. And the other thing about a freestyle which is important, I think, is that I'm guessing that it like if you did that for 5 minutes, you'd start to find a flow. You're demonstrating like off the cuff, like
Mm-hmm.
these are freestyles with like zero warm up. It's just like going straight into it.
Mm-hmm.
And like anything, I'd imagine that you get more into a flow the longer you go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's totally the case. Get more into the flow, and interesting to notice my own little like residual limiting kind of belief or smallness coming in where I want to like discount what I just did on some level and say, oh yeah, maybe that wasn't the greatest, but that kind of gave a demonstration. Like, you know, it just reminds me that all of life is a mirror, and every moment we can notice moments like that. Because I felt like when I said I felt a little catch and a little dissonance, and I'm like, no, why didn't I just own that? Why didn't I just
Mm-hmm.
own that I just did that, and that the vast majority of people couldn't do anything nearly like that with this art form that I've practiced for, 20, whatever, like 10, 15 years. Um, so yeah, just an interesting moment of self-reflection.
Well, I think that for me, dancing combined with mindfulness has been like a really great teacher because like I'm very aware of like all these judgments that come in, and like aware of like how I'm thinking, how I'm feeling in relation to other people in the room. And yeah, I think you also just demonstrated for us how you can use mindfulness when you do a freestyle. Like you can notice, oh, I'm judging myself there. Okay. And then the ideal is to continuously look for those judgments and bit by bit, like burn them away.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Just like find the judgment, locate the feeling in your body associated with the judgment, go into it, breathe into it, feel the feeling as fully as you can. That is how you can begin to dissolve and burn away those energetic emotional blockages in your system.
If someone came to you and and you could tell that they were like very much in their head, you know, and they didn't have much room for like being spontaneous or being in a flow state. And they said like, I'm gonna actually like practice what you've been teaching me, you know, here I'm gonna take my time, I'm gonna start really small, start with the, you know, saying gibberish and then working my way up to rhyming bit by bit with some dancing. Do you think just from freestyling and dancing and with obviously practice and time and commitment that someone could, you know, on some level transform,
Oh,
and in what
absolutely.
ways?
Absolutely. I think someone could basically revolutionize their life with those two
Me
spirit
too.
psycho spiritual technologies. Like I think that getting in touch with your soul, finding your voice, finding core confidence that transcends particular situations. A lot of people have situational confidence where in certain contexts they're in their element, so they're confident, but then in other contexts they're not really confident. I feel like dance and freestyle are a great way to begin getting in touch with core confidence, which really comes from being connected to your soul, being connected to your true nature, like knowing your own infinite worth and wholeness, like intrinsically in your body. It's an embodied process, core confidence. And so I think if a person began diligently practicing freestyle rap and dance, they could transform their life massively by going from being way too up here to being way more down here in their body, getting massively increasing their confidence and their sense of their own worth, which is then like external reality is basically a mirror that reflects our internal state and like reforms itself around our internal state. So if a person dramatically like lets go of a lot of shame and guilt and self-judgment and self-hatred or whatever it is, they're just going to internally rise and expand a lot, and then external reality, they're going to start to magnetize new types of people and situations externally that resonate at the frequency they're now resonating at. So this is why spiritual work in general is so powerful. And I really, for me, freestyle rap and dance are two of the most powerful spiritual modalities. If a person did that and, expanded into a higher frequency, they would find themselves starting to more easily attract romantic partners, attract partners that are actually healthy for them and a better fit for them, attract more aligned work situations, have more confidence to actually begin pursuing their dreams, whatever those might be. So, yeah, I would say yes.
Yeah, wow, okay. I, I knew the benefits, but when you lay it out like that, I'm like also really excited now to start implementing this myself. I've already done some rap challenges with you, which like people have been complimenting me lately, you know, saying like, oh, you know, like when you speak it sounds quite like authoritative, and it comes, you come across well. And those freestyles have played a big role in building that, you know, the like I'm not thinking so much what I'm saying, I'm letting go and just trusting what's going to come out next. So yeah, the freestyle rap has like transferability as well. It doesn't just make you a better rapper, it can make you more confident in other areas.
Yeah, that's a great point, and just make you a more powerful speaker and communicator in general when using prose spoken language. That's absolutely the case because, yeah, I don't like this whole conversation. I haven't been premeditating what I'm saying. Even if I pause and close my eyes, I'm actually just like dropping into an emptiness and just waiting for what comes. I'm not like thinking about what's going to come next. I'm just like dropping into an emptiness and waiting for the next thing to just come through. And so it's a totally different and more powerful mode of communication than communicating from up here from this conceptual map. People can truly feel when your communication is coming from, whether they consciously realize it, they're feeling if it's coming from that deeper place, a deeper essence or soul. And that's what truly like activates people and like just increases your impact as a communicator. So, yeah.
And you and I, we've lived together in Amsterdam. We've been out, hang out quite a lot. We've been on retreats together, and like it's we've both experienced firsthand that being real, you know, not premeditating the next thing you're going to say, is by far the best thing you could do to build great connections and friendships with people. Like, I can't even imagine what kind of headspace you'd need to be in to kind of premeditate when you speak to someone, but I can't imagine that's going to lead to fulfilling relationships at all.
Yeah, and unfortunately, tons of people, I would say the majority of people are in that space of having so much crippling self-judgment and like analysis paralysis that they're actually totally trying to consciously analyze what they're saying and consciously analyze what would be the appropriate next thing to say or what would be well received, when really, yeah, then you're just completely sabotaging your ability to actually magnetize the people you're truly looking for, because you can only do that when you're really like getting out of your own way and just channeling your truth and honesty in the most like aligned way. um yeah, damn, it's crazy. I mean, the people, yeah, the people that I've been most magnetized to in life, and increasingly the people that I'm magnetized to in life, are definitely people who more and more have this ability where they're just like, when they are communicating, it is like their radically honest soul truth just like flowing organically and spontaneously out of them, as if the cosmos is like playing them like an instrument, rather than being lost in some conceptual map and trying to speak from that. So
One of the speakers that has captivated me in recent years is Jordan Peterson, and he's captivated a lot of people. And his lectures are and his talks are just like incredible. And you can watch a 3 hour talk, and it's like, wow, everything is amazing in this talk. I'm hanging off every word. And I've heard Jordan Peterson talk about his approach to giving lectures, and I think he described it as he's thinking and reasoning his own ideas out loud in a public place. He's not going there with his ideas already formulated perfectly and just giving you them. He's actually thinking through problems in real time with participation of people watching. So there's a freestyle element to that. He doesn't always know what he's going to say. He's actually like, he's got some idea and he's got some stories, but he's just riffing and just like seeing what comes, which I think is part of what makes him so captivating, is that there's this mindfulness and this flow state there.
yeah, he's a really truly powerful speaker, and he's a great example of how you may have ultra sophisticated conceptual maps. Like, he has ultra sophisticated conceptual maps, I have a lot of conceptual maps, but you can, like, your mind is extremely powerful, and the most powerful way to use it is not to try to consciously be premeditating the next piece of your conceptual map that you're going to say. Those conceptual maps are in there, and if you can just get out of your own way and channel from that deep like feeling part of you, because he has so much pathos when he speaks, it's like it's fucking
Mm-hmm.
boom, it's coming from somewhere deep within him. But then he's like, and he's just effortlessly navigating these different lenses and conceptual maps, but he's not like lost in the conceptual maps when he's speaking. It's just like he's effortlessly using those cognitive tools and maps that he's developed, but the energy of the transmission is coming from like a deeper place within him, and that's why it resonates so much with people. All the most powerful speakers have the same quality.
You put out a song recently that I really admired you for putting out and liked. It was going through a difficult time, and you really just like you could feel you, and it wasn't like, because I can imagine one of the traps that I think I would fall into. I think many people would when it comes to rap, is like, I'm going to try and say the clever lyric to impress people, which is, I think that's fine. Like, a little bit of that is super cool, it's showmanship, and it's amazing, and it's impressive, and there's a place for it. But in that song that you released, it was just, you weren't trying to be flashy. It was just like feeling and vulnerability, which I really liked. I think that was like a very mature piece of art that you put out there.
Mm, thank you. Yeah. Yeah, I think you're referring to the song Pain, which is part of this project I released recently called the Pain Body Freestyles, which were like, last year I went through two really terrible heartbreaks that, like, I mean, terrible, maybe not the best adjective, two super intense heartbreaks that were two of the most powerful catalysts of my life, catalysts for expansion ultimately, and like integrating personal power. But there was a ton of pain involved. And in the midst of those extraordinarily painful experiences, I recorded a series of freestyles that were just a really deep catharsis, a really deep integration process, a really deep process of shadow work, really. Like a lot of rage and aggression and self-judgment and self-hatred, a lot of stuff that I had like been pushing down and not wanting to look at for, God knows how long. It's like these experiences dredged the ocean floor of my psyche and brought up some of my most fundamental core stuff. And I needed a way to like sublimate it and like cathartically release it, and to like integrate the pieces of myself and the personal power that was trapped in those repressed emotions. And rap provided like the perfect medium to do that. It was just like, it felt divinely orchestrated. I just happened to have like a number of really emotional and intense beats on hand that people had sent me, or that I had bought from people. And I just started putting them on and just started just freestyling. And what came out is a project that is not for the faint of heart. Like, most people probably wouldn't be ready for the level of shadow work of that project, because most people are not at all ready to acknowledge that anything that they see supposedly outside themselves is actually also within them, and that none of us are separate from anything that's happening, and that everything that's happening is ultimately within us on the most fundamental level, because our true nature is like all that is. We are inseparable from nature. We are nature doing its thing. We're just presently localized in this one kind of fragment of nature. But the deeper you go spiritually, the more you realize that Donald Trump is not some villain out there. He is you in another disguise, and anything about him that you can even notice, you wouldn't be able to notice it if it wasn't also within you on some level. Most people are not at all ready to do that level of super deep shadow work. And that's kind of the level that I was working with on that project. I worked with a lot of the most like primordial, primal, elemental, like emotions and urges, like deep primate aggressive urges and stuff like this that I had been bottling up. Those experiences acted as catalysts to like shake those things loose. And that project allowed me to cathartically release them and reintegrate a lot of that lost power. So yeah, I'm really glad that that song resonated with you. It was like felt super vulnerable to release that project and that music video. So
And you, not to put people off, I think that like there are going to be people who are listening to this who are ready for that kind of shadow work. So, and if what we've said so far doesn't kind of deter you, then why not check it out actually, right? Like, and see what it stirs up in you.
yeah, absolutely. Please do check it out if you feel called.
So we haven't talked about Refine the Mind, your blog, because I think that could be saved for a whole other discussion, like where we go deeper into the kind of psychedelic space and the self-improvement space and entrepreneurship. I really like that we've stuck to music and rap in this conversation, and it's been both really like humanizing to hear you go from like super terrified from your first rap performance, hearing how you made that leap to buy the mic and then record something for the first time. I think even if you're not into rap and you're just someone who's creative, you can learn a lot from that. And then the exercises that, as you said, like they have the potential to radically revolutionize your being in the world, basically, which is through dance and rap. So I hope that people who are listening to this don't just listen to it and go, "Oh yeah, that sounds cool. I like that. That, like, he's good at rapping. Oh yeah, that's cool." But actually, like, do it. Like, actually do it. Set aside like a week or whatever feels right, and actually like practice this stuff and have fun doing it, because it's not a chore, right? That's the other cool thing about dance and rap, is that it's not a difficult self-improvement chore. It's something that is fun. It's something that you can enjoy. You can look forward to doing it. So like, you can do something that's enjoyable and you get some benefit from it. It's like, why wouldn't you want to do that?
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah, absolutely.
so do you have anything that you want to like cap the conversation off with? And then after that, I want to kind of provide links to all of the places people can find your music, refine the mind, and then anything else. Or if maybe you want to give someone like the first place to start instead of, sometimes it can be overwhelming when you look at someone's music. It's like, I don't know where to begin. So,
Mm.
yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, to cap things off, I would just reiterate what you just said about like just do an experiment with rap or dance, super valuable. And if that truly just doesn't feel like the right thing for you, I just want to highly encourage people to engage in some kind of creative process. Like creativity to me is fundamentally healing and liberating and therapeutic, and has been one of the most powerfully transformative practices of self-actualization and self-discovery that I've ever engaged in. And I think we're all fundamentally creative beings, but a lot of us are really blocked in this regard. Our culture is heavily stilted toward consuming things, consuming information, and taking a lot in, but so many people are like ultra constipated when it comes to then fulfilling the other part of the natural cycle of taking things in and then giving back. If you're not engaging in the full cycle of intaking inputs in life and then outputting things too, then you're very likely going to be experiencing some kind of internal like corrosion process where the energies that you're not giving back to the world are like kind of festering and bottling up, and you're becoming sort of like spiritually constipated. So a self-actualized human being is a creative being. We're all constantly creating our own realities. Like you are never seeing anything other than like the universe that is being generated by your own mind and by your own consciousness. And and creativity is a way to begin getting back in touch with that. So there are no wrong answers in creativity. The school systems have conditioned us to see these harsh dichotomies of right and wrong answers and success and failure and being good or not good at something. There's no wrong answer in art. You can literally make anything, and it's one of the most healing and liberating things you can do. So just make some art is what I would say. Make something. um and as far as where to find my and begin getting into my work, so Spotify is a good place to start. Lost Boyevsky on Spotify. Kind of hard to spell. Lostboyevsky. That was the name I came up with back in South Korea, as like a synthesis of the philosopher and novelist Dostoevsky with the Peter Pan Lost Boys, wrapped under different monikers, but that's been my primary one over the years. Um, lostboyevsky.bandcamp.com is where to find like my full discography or the fullest version of it that's available online. Refinethemind.com, as John said, is like right on the homepage there. You can join my email newsletter, which is probably the absolute best way to stay in touch with me and never miss a beat about what I'm up to. And then as well, you can follow me on, whatever social media platform you hang out on, really. I'm _Jordan_Bates on Instagram and Twitter. And on Facebook, if you search Jordan Bates, you should be able to find me. It's facebook.com/Jordan Bates 4. So, yeah, and one more thing. I'm soon going to launch version 2.0 of my course, Escaping the Rat Race. This is a course all about breaking out of kind of the Groundhog Day of going through the motions and doing things that aren't truly aligned, and instead activating yourself as a creator, reconnecting with your soul, and doing what you're truly here to do, discovering your aligned purpose, and then learning how to actually generate income and earn a living in a more aligned way. So if that interests you, you can find that at refinethemind.com/free. Thank you.
Awesome. And yeah, I'm a member of your email list as well. And I like that everything you send is actually like, it's an actual update. It's either a piece of content or something that's actually valuable. So yeah, highly encourage people to get on that, refinethemind.com. And I'm going to enjoy looking through your Spotify for Lost Bayevsky. It's going to be a fun listening experience, especially like I always like knowing the story of the artists that I listen to really add something. So this episode now is going to make my listening experience and everyone else's much deeper who've actually listened to this. So yeah, thank you for sharing that. That was amazing.
Yeah, you're very welcome. Thank you for having me, brother. Appreciate it.